Oh wow, here it is. Here it is.
In the last episode, we began part 1 of our journey into the Ying ruins and began to understand the importance of Shang Dynasty early writing on the Chinese civilization. In today's episode, we continue in part 2 and finally enter the only unrobbed, undisturbed Shang Dynasty royal tomb. We then head to the very site Shang kings and queens are buried and discover burial rituals that would disappear in future Chinese dynasties.
I'm on my way to the tomb right now, and look at what I see. Y'all remember that? We just saw this a few minutes ago. Shape of an oxen. Yinxu de 镇馆之宝. This means this is the most prized bronze possession in the entire museum. The only one ever found at this place that takes the shape of an oxen, a cow. So you can see a lot of different animals when you look at different Shang Dynasty pieces. What are some of the key highlight animals? Owls. The Shang people really liked and respected and worshipped owls. Like Harry Potter owls. They made things that look like owls. Bowls, containers, vessels. So that's one. Of course, another one. Dragon. Y'all remember those jade pieces of dragon? That's another one. Third one. Tigers. Fourth one. Mystical animal. Y'all remember that animal with 2 antennas sticking out its head? Mystical animals. But that oxen that you just saw, you can only come here and see it. It's the most prized bronze possession in the entire Yinxu Museum here. Absolutely amazing. Now, look at how quiet it is. I've avoided all the tour groups. Look how quiet it is. This is the type of experience I look for when I'm traveling. You know, I like the Great Wall as much as you guys. I like the Terracotta Warriors. But I'm not trying to go on a Saturday or a Sunday or a national holiday where it's going to be packed. I'm trying to go when it's quieter so I can give y'all a better experience when you're all viewing all this. I like what they've done with the buildings here. You don't see any buildings. All y'all see are trees, grass. It almost feels like a national park, a city park that you could take a stroll in, except you got to buy a ticket. I like what they're doing here. This is a national 5A tourist spot, which means it's the highest designation that China has given to any tourist site. You don't have 6A. Now, there are 5A tourist sites all over the country. This one, if I had to be totally honest, isn't the largest. It also isn't the most scenic, but no one can beat the history. No one can beat the history here. On history alone, it gets 5A. On history alone, it gets 5A. So keep that in mind. This is a national 5A tourist spot, and then you go down 4A, 3A, 2A. I don't know if it's important to you, but I do like to know that, you know, I'm visiting and I'm supporting a extremely important national relic site. And you can already see in front of me, look at that. You see her statue, the statue of Fu Hao. Oh my gosh, I can see from here already. She's in full battle gear. Look at that. She's got, oh my gosh, look at that. And that's the tomb entrance. Y'all see that? That's the tomb entrance right here. This is where we're gonna go in from. Directly underground. This is so amazing. This is Fu Hao, the great Shang Dynasty female general, wife. Look at her, look at her. She looks absolutely incredible. She looks absolutely incredible. In full battle armor, holding an axe, with headgear protecting her head. She looks elegant, refined, but ready to kick somebody's butt. I respect that. I respect that. Let's go into this tomb. Here you have a plaque. Quite old. And here's a little bit more about this tomb here. So this was discovered in 1976. Perhaps it was discovered before 1976, but it was excavated in 1976. Oh, there was actually a house. It was a local family living on this tomb. They probably didn't even know it. Oh, maybe it's this house right here. It was this. Oh, the memorial hall. So this used to be a house. This used to be someone's house, and they've restored it. They've torn down what they needed to torn down, and they just left these pillars here to give it a memorial hall. That's very interesting. But you can see that's very normal, right? You see the wall here? That's park grounds. You see what's outside? That's people. People are living there. To me, I drove 2.5 hours here because I'm fascinated by history. Those guys could walk 2 seconds and they're inside. I'm reading a little bit more here. Yeah, so this was, they call her Lady Hao. Her full name was Fu Hao, and she was the wife, concubine of King Wu Ding of the Ying Dynasty, aka Shang Dynasty, the earliest woman general in China. And she was given a temple as well. Unbelievable. This is incredible. This is incredible. Let's go in. I can't wait. I can't wait. Alright, y'all. So first thing I notice as I'm walking down here, much colder, much cooler. This is a tomb that we're entering. And they do have running ventilation, they do have AC down here, but it's still very, very cold. These are some of the pieces that were discovered inside her tomb. Unbelievable. And we need to continue to go down further. So by the looks of this, when Fu Hao was buried, she was likely buried at least 30, 40, perhaps even up to 50 feet under. Oh, there's more stairs. So, oh wow, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Fu Hao's tomb. So I've come down 3 flights of stairs. And don't be intimidated, y'all, if y'all see this. This is all original. The pieces down there are likely, I'm not sure if those are original, but the placement of these bones here, this should be the way that they found it when they opened it up. So you can see here, it's not a very sizable tomb. It's not a large tomb by any means. If I had to guess, what's this, height, width, 8 to 10 feet. Maybe 12 feet. Length, 18 to 20 feet. So in total, you're looking at maybe 300-400 square feet here. Not a very large tomb. And the way that they placed all these different pieces matches exactly how this tomb was placed. And then when they opened it, so you can see, I'm not doing a plug here because I really want y'all to think about our last episode. So go back to our last episode and see if y'all could find those 4 pieces that we talk about that's on display at the Henan Provincial Museum and where they were found. Because I would have to scroll through my old photos and my old videos, the raw materials for the videos, to find it as well. But that's how they were found. They were found here. And remember on the last episode, we went into the museum looking for the 9 national treasures. We only found 8 because one of them is on exhibit, on loan to the Shanghai Museum. I believe that's that piece down there. So obviously these are replicas. But this shows you the way that this tomb was placed. Her coffin is not here, but that should be where the red mark is. The red mark should show where the coffin is. Now it's also very important. What are all these skeletons on the side? Sacrifice. Isn't that a little bit hard to think about? All these stones here, all these skulls here. Likely her servants, her cook, her chef, her driver. Or maybe she didn't have a driver, she was a general, so maybe she drove her own chariot. But these are the people who helped her make her life comfortable when she was alive, and now that she's passed on to the heavens, they go with her. Sacrifice. So I have to talk about this point, because even though this may look a little bit scary, I have to emphasize this point to you guys. These are clearly sacrifices. These are human sacrifices. But remember, as we moved further and further on in Chinese history, Tang Dynasty, Han Dynasty, they began to do less and less of this. Y'all see that? Less and less of this. Instead, beginning with the Qing Dynasty that we saw, what do? They put life-size or miniature-sized pottery figures, terracotta figures, to represent what they wanted to be sacrificial objects that accompany the main person who's buried. So keep that in mind. So very early in Chinese history, which is where we are now, real human sacrifices. As we went further in history towards where we are today, figurines, terracotta warriors, right? You think about it, Qin Shi Huang could have literally buried his entire army. He could have, no? He could have said, you know what, I'm going to take 10,000 soldiers and I'm just going to bury them. Like real human soldiers. He decided not to do that. He said, I'm going to build 10,000 terracotta warriors, 50,000 terracotta warriors, and I'm going to bury those with me. Big difference. But here, we didn't see many figurines. Do y'all see any figurines here? No. But instead, what we have are actual burial accompanied. And here's the other thing. Notice how they're buried? They're not buried in any box. They're not buried in any coffins. So this just shows you that their social status was nowhere near the social status of the queen, of the great female general. Their bodies were simply placed along the walls. Huge difference. Keep that in mind, guys. Huge difference. Look at these pieces. Seriously, do y'all recognize any of these pieces down there in the last video that I took? I recognize at least one. I'm not going to tell y'all which one it is, but I recognize at least one. And these other pieces should be spread out in museums all over China, and perhaps a couple are overseas, maybe in Japan or in London or in New York. This is incredible. Let's look at what's along the walls here. More funerary objects. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. So much respect to this great female general, this great female leader who led men into battle. That's what makes this so unique. Never looted, never robbed, found 3,000 years later the way that it was buried. Of course, the only thing that messed with it was age and time, soil, moisture. Everything else you see here, exactly the way they found it. Isn't this incredible, guys? Unbelievable. This is unbelievable. Wow. I just listened to a tour guide give a lecture to a tour that had come down here, and I got some more interesting information here. But before I talk about that, check this out. I just noticed that this set of bone here, they are either an animal or a small human being, a child. There's no way this is a set of adult bones. So I don't know the answer to this. Could this be an animal of some kind, a dog, a cat? Definitely not a fully grown human, but I also see what seems like a hand there. Y'all see that? That looks like a hand. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. I don't have the answer on what this is. Very interesting. All right, so I listened to the tour guide. When they opened this tomb, when they found this tomb, it was totally by accident. So why did they not rob this tomb? So why was this tomb completely untouched? Because the place that we're in, where we spent the last 2 hours, this entire ground used to be the imperial palace. So all those buildings that you saw with the straw roofs, those are actually imperial buildings. they didn't bury people here. Even the kings were not buried here. Remember I said earlier, you buy a ticket for 70 yuan, for $10, and it includes a bus ride to another area. That's where the Shang Dynasty kings are buried. Those tombs, all robbed. If I had to guess, nothing left. All robbed. This one was not robbed because the grave robbers didn't think that there would be a tomb right next to the imperial palace. This is why it survived so many thousands of years. However, something to remember, when they opened up this tomb, everything was flooded. Groundwater has seeped and made its way in, so everything that you see here was underwater to some extent. And the bronze actually survived. So they had to drain out the water, but when they drained it, they didn't even find the coffin, nor did they find the body. The tour guide was saying that it's likely that those had disintegrated, especially if the coffin was made out of wood. Disintegrated into the water over thousands of years. You gotta remember, this is not 2 months, 3 months. This is maybe 30, 40 years, and it's completely soaked in water, so it dissolved into the water. So that's one explanation. But could another explanation be that the body and the coffin was removed at one point in antiquity, not robbed, because if they robbed, they would have taken all these things that you see down there. Not robbed, but perhaps taken to another location. We'll not know the answer. So you say, well, how do they know that this is a woman general's tomb? So how do they know that? How do they know that? Well, because they saw carvings. They saw carvings in these artifacts that had her name on it. And also they found oracle bones here. They found oracle bones that detailed her military achievements. At one point, she led as many as 13,000 men into battle. Let that sink in. And it was a victorious battle too. She came back victorious. So by that, they were able to determine this was her tomb. But it wasn't like they found her coffin and they found her body. Those were all missing. They had to rely on the things that they found inside in order to deduce that this was her tomb. All right, y'all, look at what I found here. So this is very clear evidence that along the wall, not only did you have bodies, skeletons of humans, actually this is making more sense to me now. This is clearly animal bones. A dog, perhaps a cat, though that'll be a very large cat, but I think these are dogs, possibly even little smaller sheeps, but they look like dogs. That would make sense, right? Because if you're a fierce general, like one of Fu Hao was, you will be accompanied by fierce dogs. Perhaps they accompany her into the afterlife to fight the battles that she needs to fight there. So I think what is making sense, a little bit more sense to me now, is that you have humans, and then on the sides, animals, and then on the other side, some more humans. There was logic to the way that they organized this. It was not random. As we're making our way out of Fu Hao's tomb, I have to emphasize one thing again. It was never robbed because the grave robbers didn't think that right here there will be a tomb. Exact same logic as to why Tutankhamun's tomb was never robbed. In Egypt, because Tut was buried in the Valley of the Kings, just like his ancestors. But his tomb, because he died very, very quickly, he died unexpectedly. I believe Tut was only 19 or 18 years old when he died. So they didn't have time to build him a huge tomb, a huge burial chamber like they did for his father or his uncle or maybe his great-grandfather. So they had to hastily prepare his mummy and put him in a very small burial chamber that I believe is right underneath his father's. So over the course of time, Egyptian grave robbers took everything from his father's tomb, but they didn't realize that there was another tomb underneath. So I think it's the same concept here. A lot of these things that are preserved in history that you're able to see that didn't get lost into the antiquities, the warfare, the theft, the vandalism, sometimes it's by chance. It's by chance and by our good luck that they didn't get. Okay, so I lost my train of thought there. She was trying to sell some stamps and some souvenirs. Anyway, that sometimes it's a complete act of luck, of good fortune, that you're able to retain these things so that we can see it today. Otherwise, they're totally lost. Something to consider as we're walking towards the next couple of places. Those should be quick. We're going to make our way out of this entire area, and then we're going to go to where the Shang Dynasty kings are buried. We have to take a bus to get there. Remember, that is where the royals were truly buried. This is why this tomb was never touched. But something to think about. This is something I've thought about. If you go to Egypt, or even if you just Google this, Tut, his coffin, the innermost coffin was made out of solid gold. Outer levels were made out of wood covered in gold. His face mask was pure gold. Think about how luxurious and costly that was to make. And he was buried in a small tomb in very, very hurried, hasty fashion. Now imagine his father or his grandfather who ruled for many, many years, who were great military leaders, who have great legacies, and they had 20 years to make their tombs. Imagine what was in those tombs. If a young boy king, a young boy pharaoh died suddenly and his coffin was made out of solid gold, imagine what was in his father's tomb. If his father ruled for 20 years, 30 years, if his great-grandfather, his grandfather, think about that. I often think about that, you know? Can you just imagine being a grave robber from Egypt and you walk in and you see everything inside his father's tomb and you're just like, I can't even take all this. It's too much. That's the curious thing that I find about history. Is because a lot of times you don't actually have the answer. You have to imagine it because the answer is likely lost. You think about how much gold was in maybe a great pharaoh's tomb that's been melted down 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago. And maybe that gold is now in a Bulgari ring, in a Cartier bracelet, in a piece of jewelry somewhere. You know, maybe a Roman piece of gold has been melted down and is in a piece of jewelry somewhere. You just don't know. You just don't know, right? And I think that's the most beautiful thing about history. I think that's why history is so beautiful, is because you don't have a lot of these definitive answers. That's why it gives you an opportunity to imagine. It gives you an opportunity to imagine things. And that's what I find so fascinating about history. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little spiel, but we're going to make our way to the remaining few sites. Those shouldn't be the primary sites, so it should be a couple of memorial steels, memorial tablets, oracle bone tablets, and a chariot pit. And then we're going to make our way out of here entirely to get on that bus to go to the last area that's included in our ticket, the Shang Dynasty King burial site. I got to set your expectations, guys. I got to set your expectations. We're not going to find a darn thing inside those tombs. Here's why. Because they've been robbed. And they were robbed many times, I'm sure, over the course of antiquity. So you're not going to be able to find many things in there. But it should give us an idea of how large the tombs were, the shape, the size. It'll be still cool to see nonetheless. But don't have any expectations to see many artifacts, especially real artifacts, because they will be lost to antiquity forever. Okay, we've been here. Now we just need to see this and this. This should be straight ahead of us. Let's make a quick stop there, a couple minutes, and then we'll come over here to see the chariot pits, and then we'll make our way out of here. Maybe see a couple of fossil bone, oracle bone steels along the way, and then we'll make our way out of here. Let's go. I'm now inside an exhibit hall that they built. So this is a modern building that they built, and this is a great introduction, and I think it buttresses a lot of the things that I talked about. So the Shang Dynasty, they actually existed for over 500 years. Let that number sink in. The United States of America has been around for less than 250. The Shang Dynasty lasted twice as long. twice as long as our entire history of America. Think about everything that's happened in America over the last 250 years. The Emancipation Proclamation, the Civil War, the Civil Rights Movement, World War I, World War II. All those things happened in 250 years, less than that. These guys were around for more than 500 years. And yet, before we saw these oracle bones, before we found these oracle bones that you see on the wall, these are replica, life-sized oracle bones. Look at this, much easier to read, right? So I thought this would probably be better for you guys if I get up close. These are life-size, gigantic models of oracle bone. Look at this. Look at this. All early Chinese writing. So before they discovered, this is why the place that we're in today is so important, because before they discovered all these records, you have a civilization, a dynasty that existed in history for over 500 years, and yet we barely knew anything about them. Only some stories here or there in a history book, only some legends here or there. But because we found these oracle bones, we're now able to identify their site, their imperial palace where it once stood, and their tombs. What were they like? They're the ancestors to the modern Chinese people. So you no longer have to rely on things like this. Undocumented, legendary stories. You don't need that anymore, because now you have real writing. Look at this. You have real writing. That's why this place was so important. I'm not going to spend too much time in here, but I did want to talk about what's on this wall, because this is extremely important if you look at this English here. So, as I mentioned earlier, there's a book called The Records of the Grand Historian, written by Sima Qian. Now, when you look at this book, he talks about the last king of the Shang Dynasty, named Jie. And he was not a good king. He did not strive after virtue. You could see that. So that was the justification for this man named Tang to attack him. And Tang started his own empire called the Shang Dynasty. So this was the first time in Chinese history where you have someone that said, you know what, you're not doing a good job. I'm going to start my own dynasty. And that's what happened every dynasty after. Very important to remember that. This is the first historical record of something like this happening. And as I continue to move forward, this is likely a very good illustration of how everyday people were living at that time. You can see very little tiles, right? These buildings are long gone. Why? They're made out of wood, made out of straw. These ceilings are all made out of straw and wood. They're not going to survive. They're not going to survive. What does survive in history are really well-built wood that are not exposed to moisture. And frankly, stones, bricks, those survive. Bronze, those survive. Organic matter like wood that gets exposed to moisture, they're not going to do very well long term. As I make my way to this map here, this is going to be our last stop inside this exhibit hall, because I thought this was extremely important and it deserved to be explained. Check this out. We're here in the city of Anyang, and this is where we're standing, in this part of the country, the genesis, the beginning of the Chinese civilization. Why is this so important? Well, I don't know if y'all follow Chinese news or Chinese history, but last year, there were huge news coming out of this site right here. An entirely different civilization that is not recorded in any Chinese historical text. The Senxingdui people, the Jingsha people. They had mastered bronze, just like the Shang people. If I had to fly from here to here in an airplane, it would take me at least 2 hours. If I drove, easily 20 to 30 hours. So it just shows you how far they were from each other 3,000 years ago. Yet, They mastered bronze making at the exact same time. However, the way that these guys made bronze had exaggerated facial features. You remember what we saw earlier in the museum? Exaggerated cheekbones. Remember that? Exaggerated cheekbones. These guys, not so much. Exaggerated eyeballs. Exaggerated hands that once held onto something that's likely disintegrated. Different look. But they used the same technology. So this is extremely important. We are going to make an episode and we're going to go to Sanxingdui, to the famous Sanxingdui and the Jingsha Museum in Chengdu. Chengdu is also a very, very hot tourist spot. Many people go there. You go there to see the pandas. You go see, it's most well known for pandas. But there are so many more things to see there. We'll be making episodes at both of these places. But the last word, why is this discovery so important? They actually discovered it many decades ago. 60s, 70s, 80s, they've been digging. They've been digging for decades. Why is this so important? These guys, we're here. They have written language. These guys, so far, no written language discovered. No oracle bones. No writing whatsoever. So, if perhaps one day we could find writing here, that would be a completely revolutionary discovery, because it would push the theory that Chinese people actually originated in multiple places. Chinese civilization perhaps originated in multiple places in China, not just here. But so far, we have no evidence that these guys had writing. And unfortunately, writing is a big requirement in order for you to be considered a true great civilization. As much as beautiful as these things look, as unique as they look, you don't have writing, your place in history is going to be a little bit lower. This is why this place is known as one of the centers of where Chinese civilization began, because they have writing that can be traced to this very day. So we'll have to keep our eye on here. I know what I've been to this museum, and I've also been to this museum. This museum right here, Jingsha Museum, is much newer. This one is older, but you're going to see some amazing things in here. Masks that are made out of pure gold. Imagine a mask that looks like this, but it's made out of pure, solid gold. Absolutely incredible. That's something that even these guys didn't have. So that just shows you, once again, similar technology, bronze, different ways of using other metals. I didn't see anything here that had gold. I saw jade here, no gold. I don't recall seeing much jade here, but I saw gold. Very important to remember. So let's make our way out of this museum. We're going to be quick with our last couple of spots, and then we're going to get on this free bus. It leaves at the 30-minute mark at every hour, so we're going to try to catch the 3:30 bus, but we'll walk around here a little bit. It leaves one bus every hour, and it's totally free. It's including your ticket. But we're going to make our way out of here, check out the last couple of spots, give y'all some brief explanations. I know I always say it's brief, and yet it always ends up being 5 to 10 minutes. Let me know in the comments if y'all think it's too long or if I'm talking too fast, and I'll try to make some adjustments. But there's just so much information I want to give you guys about these beautiful places with so much beautiful history. So let's keep making our way forward, and let's have a good time. Let's keep going. Let's keep learning. All right, y'all, we're back at this sign here. We're now done with 1, 2, 3. We've done all 3. Last one, the chariot pits of the Shang Dynasty. I think we're going to see some chariots. Not the first time I've seen them, but we'll see how well preserved it is. I'm super excited to see it. And I know also that there are some oracle bone steels, some tablets here, large statues. Here it is. Here it is. So we'll make a stop quickly here as well. But these are, of course, not real oracle bones, but they're just stone steels of enlarged oracle bone inscriptions. We'll make a stop here. But these are the last two places we'll be at this spot here. And then we'll get on the bus, the 3:30 bus, that'll take us to the Shang Dynasty king pits, their burial pits. And then we'll go, we'll check those out. And then that should be it for today. Let me know if you guys are enjoying this. I hope you guys are. Sometimes I ask myself, do people like culture as much as I do? Do they like history as much as I do? I don't want to speak for y'all, but hopefully y'all are enjoying this because I'm putting all my effort into making this educational and fun for y'all. All right, y'all, as you can see, we're headed into the oracle bone steels. As I said earlier, these are of course not real oracle bones, but they're just tablets that are commemorating them. This should give you a great idea of what they look like. Look at that. Look at these. I love this one. Look at this one. Well organized, up and down, up and down, up and down. So you say, well, how do they make this? Well, when they have the oracle bones, sometimes the carving is very fine. Look at this one. Sometimes the carving is very fine. What they do is they'll put a piece of paper over the bone, and then they'll just rub it with ink. And then you have, of course, ink seeping into the paper. It'll make an impression. And you have this. So these are just tablets that are commemorating the different oracle bones that they found here at this site. Oh, this one is spectacular. The bone is full of words. Look at that. And let's see if I can recognize any. This is 2. This looks like the number 2. This looks like the word exit, though that's probably not what it is. Oh, this one I could recognize. This is Tian. That's like farming. Doesn't this look like a pineapple? Again, very, very early Chinese writing. And you can see the way that they wrote, guys. The way that they wrote is they mimicked real shapes that they saw. This looks like a crab, but it's likely not what it means, but it looks like a crab. So that's the unique thing about the Chinese language. Chinese language is all character based. There's no alphabet. There's no A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Memorize this and make words. You have to memorize characters. And our forefathers, our ancestors, when they made these, they observed their surrounding. They observed nature. And they said, I'm just going to make characters that look like what these things actually look like. Tian, the farm, if you flew a bird, you had a bird eye view from a DJI drone, you could see that this is actually what a farm should look like from the sky, right? So that's the letter, that's the word for farming. Makes sense. Perfect, I recognize this one. It means dry. Gan. Again, this is the oracle bone steel farm, and this building in front of me, it should be where the chariots are buried. So I'm gonna head in here and check out what they have in here. Let's go in. Okay, do y'all see this English explanation here? We're about to walk into the exhibition hall of the chariot pits. Y'all can pause this video if y'all want to read that a little bit further, but I'll just explain to you basically what's going on here. They found 6 pits. This is what it restored looks like. 6 pits, 6 different chariots. You can see that here. 4 of them had apparently people. Either 4 or 5 had people, human remains. These are real sacrifices that were buried with the chariots. This should give you a good idea of how large they were. Look at that. Look at that, the size of these. Look at that. Now, something very interesting to remember. Very, very interesting to remember. Okay, on this one right here, it says 2 horses were buried, 1 person. Wow. Discovered in year 2000. Now, something really important to remember. In historical records, it is said, and it's also been proven by real archaeological evidence, that the king has to be driven by a chariot that has 6 horses. Remember that. 6 horses drive the king. And the lower you go, the lesser your rank. So the commoner, even if you're able to afford a horse, you can only have 1. You can only have 1. You may be able to afford 6, but you can't buy 6. You can only buy 1. That's reserved for the king. So I'm not sure if that tradition actually existed during the Shang Dynasty, but by the Zhou Dynasty, it has become a true thing. It has become real. And when they found the tomb of a attendant tomb, actually, of a Eastern Zhou Dynasty king, they found an attendant tomb and they saw indeed 6 horse skeletons leading a chariot. So that's how they were able to prove some of these historical books that always say, oh, the king has to be driven by 6 horses. The king has to be driven by 6 horses. Well, they found archaeological evidence. Here, they're all driven by 2. So it's probably a general, even if they had this hierarchy, but it should be military officials, generals, maybe people of esteem driving this, but because they were all driven by 2 horses, not 4, not 5, not 6, only 2. You know what I just sounded like? Y'all remember when LeBron went to Miami? He said, I'm going to win so many rings, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. That's what I just sounded like. Anyway, bad joke. But y'all see this? One more thing I had to point out. Look at the people that are buried in the back. Y'all remember that sign in the front that used the word cruelty? It is indeed cruel because these people were buried alive. They were either killed beforehand or most likely they were buried alive. And there was actually even 1 boy that was buried here. You saw that on the wall. Adults and 1 boy buried in this pit along with the chariots. Keep that in mind. All right, we're going to make our way out of here and go to the final place, which I think is another pit of some kind. And then I want to walk around the grounds a little bit because I got a little bit of time left before I catch the bus. But hopefully you guys learned something in this chariot museum. Refer to one of our earlier episodes. In one of our earlier episodes, we have content. We have an episode that is focused on a chariot museum where they discovered the 6 horse-drawn chariot. That was a fascinating episode. Where we also went to the city wall. The city wall where the only female emperor of China, Wu Zetian, where she made her official announcements to the entire population. So that's all packed into one episode in our channel. Check that out. Maybe you'll find it interesting. Maybe if you saw this chariot, maybe you're not interested, but check it out. We try to make everything interesting, guys. We try to make everything interesting. Again, look at how quiet it is today. No people. Very, very few people. That's what I like. I love it. All right, now let's continue to move forward, and we should be getting out of here in the next 30 to 40 minutes, but the actual content should be less than 2 minutes. Let's get out of here. All right, y'all, we're at this oracle bone pit here that you see ahead of me. This is where they found so many of the oracle bones that we've seen today and that are spread out all throughout different museums. Take a look at how they were doing the dig back then. So much respect to these people. Look at that. This is site number B8, building B8. Look at these guys digging with shovels, looking for oracle bones. Now we're gonna walk in here. They built a nice path here that'll allow us to see what's going on here. But basically, what you have is large open pits. Y'all see this? Y'all see that? Large open pits protected by glass. These are, oh my gosh. This one looks very, very scary. This one looks very scary. So these are the pits where they found so many different oracle bones. I'm not gonna go through all of them, but this should give you an idea of what's going. So I'm actually a little bit confused about something. So why were all these oracle bones? Oh, these are animals. Y'all see this? These are oxen, cows, horses. These are probably cows. Look at that more. So does this mean that oracle bones had to be buried with either human or animal sacrifices in order for them to achieve the meaning of their divinity and sending a message, asking the gods, asking the divinity, the divine figures for an answer, that you had to give something in order to get something in return. It's very, very interesting. Wow. Yeah, more pits here. Now we're on site number B7. I can't be sure. Okay, this is the site. I can't be sure if these are the original skeletons or they were placed here for exhibition purposes, but here you can clearly see the remnant of a wheel here. Y'all see that? There's a chariot wheel. And then you see more here. Oh, this is over 3,000 years old. Incredible. Incredible. And these should be markers. I think these red dots, these red pillars, may be some markers on where they found certain things, certain oracle bones. This one, more. Look, here's a chariot. Here's a chariot. More chariots. Look at that. Look at that. Wow. Look at that. So at this point, I'm trying to figure out exactly what's going on. I'm trying to figure out exactly what's going on. And I think I may have found the answer. Look at this sign here. These are actually sacrificial pits. These are actually sacrificial pits. This is what happens when you sometimes mistake an entrance for an exit for an entrance. There was actually language in the back here, so I'm going to try to carefully step back here. These are sacrificial pits. So this is how you actually enter. So these are the sacrificial pits. So I came in through the exit. This is the actual entrance. So you come in here and there are sacrificial human beings. Oh wow, the majority of them were beheaded and then buried. My God. There were sheep, dogs. So they were not actually oxen, they were sheeps. Wow. So you can see on that description here, I'm going to walk back the way I came from because I need to find those oracle bone pits for you guys. So these are the sacrificial pits. Very, very cruel society. Very, very cruel society. These were most likely slaves in that society, and they did not have a choice on whether or not they could continue living. Their masters likely forced them, gave them no choice. Very, very cruel and very, very sad. Very, very sad. So I'm gonna make it back to that original pit here. Y'all see that in the distance? So I'm trying to figure out where exactly was that pointing. Where exactly is that site where you saw the oracle bones being dug up? You see, and I'm being very real. You see, when I shoot these videos, I'm very, very real. You know, I don't pretend. There's no script. I don't have anything in front of me that I read off of. And you guys are probably thinking, you don't do good enough of a job to warrant a script. We don't think you have one anyway. But here's the thing. Look at that. Okay, so what I was reading earlier, so this entire thing basically is the sacrificial pits. I just so happened I haven't found where the oracle bone pit is. I need to find that. So again, another view, another look. Y'all see that? Sacrificial pits in the Shang Dynasty. All buried were the slaves and animals. Very, very cruel. And this is a practice that in later dynasties, I think, I don't want to use the word stopped, but I think it has slowed down. This is why you saw figurines, pottery, terracotta warriors being buried instead of real people. All right, let's keep going and see if we can find the last spot of the day before we get on that bus to go to see where the Shang Dynasty kings are buried, the king burial site. Let's keep going. Here is the oracle bone pit. So I got a little bit confused earlier. I was saying to myself, like, I'm trying to find, oh, here it is. I'm trying to find where they found oracle bones. Here it is. This is what the pit looks like. And I saw all those skeletons. I gotta admit, I was a little bit frightened. I got a little bit rattled. I was like, what is going on here? What am I looking at? And I realized those were sacrificial pits. So here, you'll get a good idea of how this pit looked like. And you saw just now, there's actually a skeleton. There is a skeleton down there along with the oracle bones. And you see the way these bones are stacked. Look at the way these bones are stacked. There has to be at least 1,000 of these stacked into that hole. So when they found it, they had to piece it out one by one. So this goes to show you that merchant trade that went into distributing this bone all over the country as medicine, right? So this was like the factory where they found all these bones. And then they sold them piece by piece, and they got carried all throughout the country until this man here. What did I just see his name? Oh, I didn't see his name, but in 1989, the great Wang Yirong, when he deciphered and realized that these were actually cultural, historically significant, and you should no longer eat them. But this is what the original site looks like. One of the original sites. Over 300,000 pieces came out of here. Remember that, throughout Henan, over 300,000 pieces. This place says 150,000, but I read estimates as high as 300,000 pieces. This should just be a very, very small part of what they found. Incredible. I just made my way out of this last oracle bone pit here. I'm gonna walk around the grounds a little bit before I catch my bus in about 30 minutes. I've spent at least 3.5, 4 hours here. I'm losing track because this place, even though it's not large, it's not a big park by any means, it's extremely rich in history, and I've been just trying to study and understand everything and explain it to y'all. So this will be the last thing we do here at this compound, and this has concluded the two highlights, that underground museum and Fu Hao's tomb. I hope you guys enjoyed this. So now in about 30 minutes, I'll be checking back in. I will be going to the Shang Dynasty king tombs. Remember what I said about expectations earlier? The only thing we're going to see are holes in the ground. That's all, because everything has already been robbed. But it should give you guys a good idea of the structure and the size of the place. I've never seen it. Frankly, I didn't even know it was open to the public. But we're going to catch that bus, and we're going to go there, and we're going to see it. And that'll wrap up our video today. Let's go. All right, y'all. I'm headed to the bus. I got an extra burst of energy, but before I do, look at this. Y'all see this? Straw roofs. I love what they've done with this place. Even the buildings, they try to mimic what the traditional Shang Dynasty buildings look like. I love that. This place has been absolutely amazing. Now you might be asking yourself, or maybe not, how do we know these roofs were made out of straw? Very simple, because we didn't discover any tiles. See, in later Chinese dynasties, you begin to discover roofing, tiles, ceramic. Here, we didn't find anything like that. So we think, this is just a deducement, we think that their roofs were made out of straw just like this. And look at this building. Isn't that exactly what it looks like? I love what they've done with the place. This is staying true to your heritage. I wish every Chinese museum would do this. And I think increasingly more and more of them are doing this. If you remember the Henan Provincial Museum last episode, remember what that building was shaped like? Like a big pyramid, but in reality, it was like a bronze ding. So very, very good. Let's look at these famous red gates one more time, representing the Ying ruins of Anyang of Shang Dynasty. Yinxu Wu Yuan. Farewell. Maybe one day I'll be back. Goodbye. We made it here, y'all. Take a look at this. We came here on this little tour bus. It's included in your ticket. $10 gets you into access in all these places. We're now going to visit Wangling Yizhi. Yinxu Wangling Yizhi. This means the Ying ruins, king burial place. This is where we're going. That's our driver sitting right there. He's waiting for us. We got about 45 minutes here. This should be very, very quick. But I wanted to give you guys I mean, look at this. Look at where I am, y'all. Nothing but farms surround me. Look at this. I think they're planting corn. Nothing but farms. I mean, we are on the drive here, I gotta tell y'all, I feel like we are in the middle of a village in China. I mean, this is a very, very remote part of China. It almost feels like, I know I said earlier I'm in a city of 6 million people, and yet on the drive here I felt like I was in a village. This is very, very cool. Very, very cool. As you can see here, they didn't even bother to check my ticket. I wonder if they'll check it at the front, but we are walking in a straight path to where the burial places are. I'm not gonna mention for a third time about expectations. Y'all already know, not much to see except the pits, because the graves have already been, you know what. I'm gonna keep going. On the drive here, I was paying attention to road signs. We drove about 6 kilometers in total. So that's a little bit over 3.5, close to 4 miles to get here. So you can see, now think about the math behind this, right? The place that we just spent the first part of the video, for me it was about 3.5, close to 4 hours. That's the Imperial Palace. That's where the emperors lived. That's where all their servants served them. This is where they lived and governed. So you can you have an idea. Not that large. Their Imperial Palace wasn't that large. Now you drive 4 miles away from there, which back then, if you were walking or you're drawing a horse, would have taken you a couple hours. If you're on a horse, maybe 30-40 minutes. If you're walking, easily a couple hours to get here. And this is where they made their burials. So very, very intelligent how they did this, right? They didn't bury emperors. I gotta take that word back. Not emperors. They didn't bury kings at the same place where they conducted business. So it was a special place reserved for them. Keep that in mind. Very, very important. There was a special place reserved for their burial. We're gonna go in. I have no idea what to expect, if it's gonna be open or if it's gonna be inside a building. I don't know what's going on, but based on what I'm seeing here, it should be right out in the open. So the driver said 45 minutes. I gotta get back there, or he's gonna leave my butt here along with these corns. So I gotta hurry up, see what I gotta see, show you guys what I gotta show you, and then get back to the bus and wrap up today. I hope you're enjoying this. We are walking in right now. All right, y'all, we're standing right here. We've just entered. I used the ticket, kept my ticket, got my way inside. Boom, we're standing here. That's actually south. This is actually north, so it's opposite. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna make a loop. We're gonna go south first. We're gonna look at the Museum of the Chariots. Quick exhibition here. Another exhibition hall, Sacrificial tombs. Sacrificial tombs, we're gonna make a walk around and we're gonna come out here. I think these should be the official king tombs. These ones right here. I'm not sure if they'll allow us to get close, but we're going to try. So we're gonna start from the left. We're gonna go visit through a couple of museums first. We're going to go quick. We're going to go quick. Let's go. Take a look at this, y'all. We're going into the Chariot Museum first. Oh, I see what they're doing here. Again, more of what we saw earlier. 2 pits, 2 horses. I don't see any human sacrifices this time. No human skeletons. Look at these horses. 2 of them. Remember what I said earlier, quiz you guys. Why do these wheels and this structure look like they're made out of clay? Look back earlier in the video if you don't know the answer. Excellent. As I was expecting, this is a small museum. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. I have no idea what to expect here. Let's go in and see what we have. Oh, wow. Okay. So this is... Oh, that's the postscript. So let's begin with the preface. This is the place where the Shang kings rested, and there are many, many additional holes in the ground for attendant tombs and 2,000 sacrificial, 2,000 sacrificial tombs. Mausoleum repeatedly looted in the past. Wow. As you can see, I'm the only person here. Have y'all ever been in a museum where y'all are the only person? Look at this. Just rows and rows of holes in the ground. I see 4 right over there that have a glass cover. So they should exhibit. Oh wow, these still have bones in them. Oh my gosh. Wow. This is incredible. It says this says a lot about the way the Shang Dynasty kings conducted business. You know, when they went, they made sure people went with them. And that is extremely disturbing to think about. But you know what? You have to respect the fact that this was their way of living. Wow. So overall, I see 8 in a row. Yep, 8 in a row in these first 2 rows. In the further 2, I see another 8 in the last row, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 in that row right there. So 3, 8, that's 24 plus 9. 33 total holes in the ground. Burial. Wow, look at this. Wow. Y'all see this sloping way here? Y'all see this sloping way? This is likely where the king rests. These are just attendant tombs. Servants, slaves, people to serve the king in the afterlife. Wow. Just me and my camera guy, the only 2 people here. Incredible. So along the wall, I'm not going to pay too much attention to these because these are all copies, replicas. Try to give this place lend it some authenticity on what are some of the things that may have been discovered here. But as you remember, repeatedly looted, not many things of value here except historical value. But as far as objects, mostly stolen by grave robbers, vandalized. Wow. And all along the wall, you got educational literature. When you come in, you're supposed to actually go this way. I did the opposite because I was too curious and I wanted to see what was behind, underneath those glass roofs. There's an AC over here in case you get hot. Beautiful. All right, we're going to make our way out of here to go to the next tomb. Excellent. Let's look at a postscript. Wow. There's just so much history here. Over 500 years of Shang Dynasty history buried in these lands. Unbelievable. All right, y'all, look at this. Look at this. I've made it to the place where they discovered the Si Mu Wu, or the Hao Wu Ding, right there. That's where they found it in 1939. And this is a very important date. In 1939, China was still fighting the Japanese in the Second Sino-Japanese War, and I believe Henan potentially was one of the areas where fighting was very fierce. I'm not sure if the Japanese occupied this area or not. Let me know in the comments if you know the answer, because I really don't know the answer to this. Because if they did occupy it and they found this in 1939, then it's a miracle that this did not end up in Japan. That right there is where they found the big bronze ding we were looking at earlier today, pronounced Si Mu Wu or Hou Mu Wu. Remember, the first letter is in dispute. Now, this entire tomb, we don't know who the owner is, but we do know that this is a very esteemed person. Because why? Look at how deep this tomb is. Easily 30 feet tall. Easily 30 feet deep. Look at the other tombs that we saw earlier. Barely 10 feet deep. We see a number of skeletons here. They're likely slaves or attendants that are serving this king in the afterlife. But here it is in 1939. What's interesting is this tomb was actually not excavated until much later. So they found that in 1939, but they didn't excavate this tomb until much, much later, maybe like 50 years later. What's this? Oh my gosh, more skeletons. All right, as you can see here, this is a T-shaped tomb. T. Here's the, y'all see that? T-shaped tomb, very, very deep. Very, very deep. And you see the sloping way here? See the slope? Why do they have a slope? Well, based on my understanding, this is so that they could facilitate the movement of all the burial objects that need to go in there. Because there was so much burial objects that needed to go down into this hole. Wow. 30 feet is not even a good estimate. This is easily 50 feet, guys. This is easily 50 feet. Look at how deep this is. Oh my gosh, this is easily 50 feet. So the coffin holding the body will be somewhere down in the middle. And all this will be buried. Think about how much was in here. So unfortunately, when they opened it up, not many artifacts were found. They did find a jade dagger, but everything else was missing. And they're still working to identify who is the person that once was laying down there, resting in peace. Unbelievable. And once again, the famous Si Mu Wu bronze ding, or according to the Beijing Museum, Hou Mu Wu bronze ding. Beautiful. All right, let's get out of here and let's keep moving. All right, y'all. This is marking the end of our day at the famous Ying ruins. And I just had a little chat with someone who was manning the desk over at that last hall we just saw. So many things. It turns out archaeologists have ascertained. So that's what I was thinking, on the wall it says we're not sure who it is. And then it says we do know who it is. It was actually a queen, a formal queen of the Wu Ding King. So an actual queen was buried in there, and that bronze ding that you see, this is a replica of it. Right? Oh my God, they're still digging here. What is going on here? They're still digging here. But anyway, this ding, such a fascinating story, was found in that pit. But it's not the same woman. That woman was the actual queen of the king. She was the actual queen. And what you saw earlier, that female general named Fu Hao, it's actually now making sense to me why she's not buried here. Because she actually wasn't a queen. She was a concubine of the king. Check this out. Check this out. It says here, 青铜时代第一鼎. It means the number one bronze ding from the Bronze Age. Unbelievable. This is so incredible. So all these things that you see on the left, not open to the public, nor have they been opened. So the only things that we can see are those 3 open exhibition halls that we just went into. Something really important. So I gotta make this clear. Fu Hao was a concubine who was also a general. She wasn't buried here in this entire imperial place because she did not have title of queen. So Si Mu Wu, this bronze ding, is actually commissioned by the son, as I said earlier, to commemorate his mother. But his mother was the real queen, and she was not a general. She was just a queen. She didn't go onto the battlefield. Think about that. So I asked this, it was a lady who was manning this desk. I was talking to her. I was like, 1939, that's like the thick of the Sino-Japanese War. That's like the thick of it. How did the Japanese not find this? So, based on what she was saying, I'm going to give y'all what I heard. So, first, the Japanese heard about this thing that had came out in 1939, and guess who found it? It was actually a grave robber. A grave robber was the one who found this thing. It was a grave robber who found it. And what did he do? He hid it underground in his toilet. Now you gotta understand, in 1939, his toilet wasn't exactly state-of-the-art toilet. It was just a big pit. It was a very large pit. And he just buried this thing underneath human feces in order to hide it from people who wanted it. Japanese actually sent a team over here when they heard about this place and when they heard about the discovery to try to look for it. But by then, this grave robber, this guy was basically a vandal. He had already hidden it. Okay? And after the Japanese were defeated, the nationalist government, they dug it up and they moved it to their capital in Nanjing. And when they fled to go to Taiwan, current day Taiwan, they wanted to take it with them. They said, you know what, I'm going to take this with me. Like so many items that is currently being on display at the Palace Museum in Taipei, they were taken from the mainland when Chiang Kai-shek and I believe in English it's called the KMT, but basically the nationalists, when they were leaving the mainland, they took a number of artifacts with them. They tried to take this one. When they tried to put it on the plane, it was too heavy. 857 kilograms. Let that sink in. That's over 1,500 pounds. Wouldn't go on the plane. Overweight. So they left it at the airport. They left it at the Nanjing airport. And with that, after 1949, the founding of the Republic, it was put back into a museum. It was studied. It was analyzed. We figured out what those words meant. That is the story behind this amazing piece of artifact that not only survived 3,000 years, but numerous attempts by grave robbers, the Japanese, all kinds of forces who wanted to take it, and yet here it is at the Beijing Museum for us all to see. We're gonna make it there. That's why you subscribe. We're gonna make it there. I'm going to show you this bronze ding, the largest one ever found in human history, in Chinese history, ever found. We're gonna show it to you. We're gonna go there. That's all for today. We've had a great time. I hope you've enjoyed watching us. I hope you've enjoyed listening to me. Let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions. Should I talk slower? Should I walk slower? Should I make the videos longer? Should I make the videos shorter? Let me know. I appreciate you watching. We'll see you next week. More episodes coming every single week. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm gonna go catch my bus so I don't get left here in the cornfields. See you next week. Bye-bye.
In the next episode, we cross state lines and enter China's coal country, Shanxi Province. It's here we will find the glorious House of the Chancellor, one of the greatest examples of Ming and Qing Dynasty ancient architecture. Come along with us as we journey deeper into the heart of this beautiful country